What is going on, everybody? Depraved Slasher here. We are back with another music reaction. I'm Depraved.
I'm Hellcat.
And together we are
HellaDepraved.
super excited.
8 Graves.
So, when the 8 Graves dropped their last track, it was towards the end of October?
I think so.
I think we ended up having to wait like 5 or 6 days to get to
Something like that.
But we're on it today, motherfuckers.
He saw it like 14 minutes after it dropped and was like, hey.
I was like, hey, babe, when I get home.
You want to change the lineup? And I was like, absolutely.
So, this is Everyday Oblivion, and I think this was the song he said he wrote when he was at the lowest of lows?
Right. I think.
Yeah.
But, so, we'll see. I mean, like, I loved Tuning Out, which was the one he said that he wrote after realizing he needed to stop looking at the news and everything, so.
Right.
Again.
Everything we've covered from 8 Graves has been fantastic.
Right.
One day he'll top evil.
I don't know. I don't know. That's kind of a personal theme song.
Right.
Right.
But
they've all been fantastic.
They've all been amazing.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, we're going to react to this. If you guys have already seen it, if not, click the link in the description below. Hop on over to other things. Coming back. Because we're commentary, reaction, breakdown, comedy channel. What that means, we will pause for whatever we want to pause for. So, with that being said, it's time to slash it up and break it down. This is 8 Graves with Everyday Oblivion.
Right.
Let's get it. Eight Graves. Recorded in stereo.
I get deeper every day. I paint it black.
Giggity.
Definitely paint it black.
I see a line of cars and they're all painted black.
I mean, like, yeah.
No colors anymore. Sorry.
Get deeper every day. I paint it black. Will the fever ever break? Will the walls collapse? We got lost along the way. Can you bring me back? Can you bring me back? Can you bring me back? Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wave your banner, get your Everyday Oblivion. I get weaker every day. I'm fading fast. The fear keeps me awake at night. I can't relax. We got lost along the way. Can you bring me back? Can you bring me back? Can you bring me back?
Just composition-wise, I really like that break that they had without the bass. Like, just a nice, almost silence in terms of, like, how somber the lyrics actually are in comparison to an almost upbeat. So I really like that artistic choice.
So, he says, we got lost along the way.
Right. Can you bring me back?
Can you bring me back? And this is one of those things where I don't necessarily think we've gotten lost. I feel like it's the whole, we're getting older, and as times change, it always feels like it's getting worse.
Right.
A lot of us hear our parents say a lot of the same things. Things aren't like they used to be.
Right.
Their parents probably said things aren't like they used to be.
I mean, honestly, humans don't like change.
No.
Which, you know, is why we burn witches and have wars and so on and so forth. I mean, those are drastic examples, but we don't do well with difference or change.
And in terms of our worldly state, I mean, I would agree to an extent. I do think things are getting worse. Again, that could just be the older me being old. But I also don't know so much if it's like a steep change in things getting worse or just we're more privy to information about how bad things can be.
I think it's kind of both.
Because you think about, again, we're in the social media age, right? Which we didn't have when we were kids.
Right.
Which is weird, I know, for some of you.
I'm older than Google.
That like to think that we're old.
I'm old.
I can remember a time before internet was around.
I'm older than AOL.
Yeah. I'm older than the internet.
Right.
But, we didn't hear about everything that happened everywhere all the time.
Right.
And now we do.
Right.
All the time.
Right.
Like, a prime example being, you know, a lot of people seem to think everywhere, like, murder's on the rise.
Right.
And it's really not. It's kind of maintained a steady pace. It's just, it's always on our news feeds. It's always talked about. It's always there.
We keep track of it more also, statistically speaking.
Right.
I mean, okay, so I would say yes and no, because in terms of the damage that we're doing to the ecosystem, to wildlife, stuff like that, that has been just a constant state of decline since humans decided we were the priority. And yes, the social media allows us to see that in stereo. Like, we're always hearing about it. So it's more in that capacity. It's easier to track because we can now communicate worldwide pretty much instantaneously. But I think also it's not necessarily that we got lost, it's that we got super distracted because there's everything available all the time.
Anything and everything, all of the time.
Bo Burnham, thank you.
Bo Burnham.
Echo. But also,
apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime.
Exactly, but that's also our mentality has changed because of it. And so I think humanity, while we've always been pretty crappy, have gotten even more self-centered and crappy. So in terms of him saying, like, he got lost along the way, I think people are feeling even more alone now, like less directionless, you know, like they just don't have...
Human interaction has always been a staple in humanity.
Right.
Even back in tribal days.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why there were tribes.
You tried to gain the attention of your fellow tribesmen. Some people, you know, tried to take over.
Status.
Be the main guy, and everyone else did, you know, their jobs, went out and hunted, beat women over the head with clubs, whatever.
Right.
But it's always been... Human interaction has always been almost a necessity in life, to an extent. Some people, not so much. But
pack mentality's there, though.
But as a whole. And the one thing the internet has done, and it's funny, the one thing that was meant to further connect us...
Has divided us.
Right. It's...
Right.
Prime example, Prince EA has a spoken word poem on YouTube called Can We Autocorrect Humanity? Which I've shown her before.
Right.
And
he's a fantastic poet, y'all.
I fucking love him. And he has... one of the things that it shows are two people laying in bed together.
But they're on separate devices.
They're on separate cell phones. Yeah. And he's talking about, like, losing touch with the people around us.
But it's not just with the people around us. It's like people don't go outside to the same extent anymore. But also...
Which is probably a good thing.
Well, we're also destroying the environment. We've also got more dangers associated with, you know, you can't just have kids running around the neighborhood anymore. But, you know, people really are not finding that enjoyment in nature like they were. We also have less nature to enjoy.
Overpopulation will do that too.
But I think part of it is, you know, with all of the options available now, instead of like growing up knowing what you were supposed to do, what was the status quo, this is your life path, which by the way I don't think is the right way, but that leaves a lot of people floundering. Like they don't know what they want to be, they don't know how they're supposed to act. It's distraction, and it's not necessarily that you lose yourself along the way, it's that you don't find yourself. Plus, we have to work so much more now to afford things that we're just not given that time for your mental state, for your emotional state. There's just not that availability.
Well, and yeah, and I think a lot of that going into the, again, okay, I'm a gamer. Right? I like to play video games. Growing up, you always played with your friends. You sat next to...
If you had friends.
Huh?
If you had friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sat next to each other. Everyone had their own controller. You played split screen. Everyone
Right.
could see everything going on and stuff like that. And then the internet came along, which eventually bred being able to play video games online, which is a cool idea. It's like,
Right.
hey,
But then you're at home.
now I
They're
can
at
play
home.
with my friends and not even leave the house, and that's the problem.
Right. Because at least when you were in the same room together, there was human interaction.
Right.
Right.
And we're taking the human interaction out of everything.
Right.
It's
and
like
saying it's to benefit.
and you know and when I mean human action out of reaction out of or human interaction out of everything, I mean everything, which benefits us. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's nice to not have to go to the grocery store. We can just order.
Well,
our
yeah, as
groceries.
introverts and complete homebodies,
Right.
there are certain benefits that are now being provided. Yes.
But it's like streaming services
Mm-hmm.
take the need to go out and maybe rent movies,
stuff at Blockbusters or whatnot.
where you're around people, you interact
or go
with,
to the movie theater.
because again, and this is another thing it brings. I just hate life sometimes. Like, you used to go to a movie rental place, Blockbuster, Family Video, whatever it is you guys had in your area. There's some mom and pop shops there too. You'd go in and you might not know what to watch, so
Right.
you would go up to the guy and be like, hey, or girl, whoever's working
Right.
behind the register, and you'd be like, hey, these are the kind of movies I like. Is there anything new that you think would
Right.
fit in that range? And most of the time, if they're working for Blockbuster,
They knew. Right.
and they might turn you on to a movie you'd never heard of or never seen. You watch it, you
Right.
enjoy it. But now it's like you go online.
Well, and the online will recommend something for you, but a lot of times it has nothing to do with what you just watched.
Well, it either has nothing to do with what you just watched, or if you go online and start asking people online, you're going to get 750 responses, all
Right.
of which are either overly critical on some things, or it's like,
Right.
look, I just, what do you...
I mean, but it's also the same with books, because I used to go to the library all the time, you know, and
Or bookstores.
librarians know their shit.
Right.
Well, I mean, librarians legit have to go to school for it. They know you can be like, I vaguely remember this story. It had this sort of storyline, and I remember that it had at least 3 pictures in it. And like, they're like, oh yes, walk you to the book. Like, they know their stuff. But I mean, this is like, I feel like a generalized sort of depression. Like, he gets weaker every day. Those kind of lyrics, like, that will is just not there. And part of that is the loss of direction, the loss of human interaction, appropriate human interaction, that we've created. I don't know.
And I don't know. There's a lot of things that like I think about on this landscape, right? Like, and a lot of our friends do this that we interact with on a daily basis on YouTube. We tell people you shouldn't work for companies. Work from home. Find a way to do what you want to do, what you love.
Right.
If we encourage everyone to do that, and everyone starts to do that, all of a sudden,
who's going to do the jobs
who's
that are
going to do the
necessary?
jobs that are needed to be done?
Right.
And I'm not saying don't chase your dreams, people.
Yeah. But we also
But I don't know. There needs
categorized
to be
and
like
demean certain jobs too. And then it's like, y'all realize that saying plumbers, electricians, people like that actually legit need to be understudies for X number of years in order to pass the tests and so on and so forth and become masters. Like, they're very educated in that field. It's a specialty field. And yet we categorize them as blue collar workers, basically stating they're second class workers. Who's going to do all of that?
right.
If we write that off as like menial work type jobs when it's really not. I mean, everybody has a place, guys.
So at the end of the day,
Right.
well, I'll comment what I was just going to say at the end of the video. We have
Maybe
dragged
if
on.
you remember.
Can you bring me back? Can you bring me back? Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. We got lost along the way. We got lost along the way. Can you bring me back? We got lost along the way. We got lost along the way. Can you bring me back? Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion. Sun is setting, better run. Night is coming, ain't it fun? Wake up, better get your gun. Every day oblivion.
Just the graphics make me feel like he just kicked the crap out of someone in roller derby. Like, they look like they were a little spattered, man. You know. Not that I have anything against that. Roller derby is brutal. So normally, I'm not one for super repetitive use of the chorus. However, I will say in this one, I feel like it was fitting because he's talking about Oblivion. Just that hazed state of existing, but not really feeling, experiencing, you know? And so it is sort of just a haze. Like, this is just the feeling, you know? So it tied in with it. I'm not saying I wouldn't have preferred a few more lyrics in terms of like verses and stuff like that. I'm just saying that it was very well suited to what he was going for. He's stuck in this constant sort of state of being lost, basically. But being a night owl, I do think it's fun.
Right.
I'm glad when the sun starts setting, you know?
Me too.
And as far as the banner goes, you know, as long as it's like a freak flag or something like that, I'm totally cool with it. But I'm not running anywhere. Ever. Just not.
I'm too lazy for that.
Yeah, I don't think it's good for your health.
No.
Yeah.
Actually, running is good for your health.
Not when you have fibro.
No.
You're actually told not to because it's too hard on your joints. Walking, however.
It's a good song. A little more repetitive than I typically like.
Right. Again, it doesn't top
chorus.
evil at all for us. But again, that's sort of a thematic song for us. Again, it's a good song, and coming from where he was coming from, this being one of the sadder songs, this being just like, we're lost. Like, I don't know how we can bring it back to people actually tuning in and caring and seeing everything that's going on and actually working to change it. This is sort of a dark...
So here's another thing. And this just popped in my head. There used to be a saying that said, it takes a neighborhood to raise a child.
Right.
But now, if
Neighbors
anyone in
don't
the
even know
neighborhood
each
gets
other.
involved, mom and dad usually get pissed off.
Right, well, that's, yeah.
Stop helping with my kids. They're not your kids. Don't worry about it.
Right.
And I feel like that's also part of the problem.
But that goes a couple ways, because there's also the entitlement factor where the parent, and I've heard this plenty of times, will drop the kids off at a neighbor's house that has a pool, doesn't have their own children, something like that, and just expect them to babysit. When that person has not been asked, does not want the responsibility, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I don't think that had anything to do with my saying, though.
No, it doesn't, but you were saying that this is another of the human interaction type things.
No. It's just more of a... the term "it takes a neighborhood to raise a child" I think is more of everyone kind of watched out for.
Yeah, it was also
their neighbors
chipping in. Yeah.
Like it would be nothing for like somebody 2 or 3 houses down to stick their head out to them and be like,
right.
"Johnny, you better not be doing what I think you're doing, or I'm gonna go tell your mom, boy."
Well, it takes a village to raise a child. but yeah, it's because everybody has their own responsibilities that they need to take care of throughout the day, and so, yeah, there would be that. But also, you know, there's, like I was saying, there's like an entitlement factor. There's also the recluse factor. Like, a lot of neighbors don't even know each other these days. And again, you're correct. If they do, it's not positive interaction a lot of times.
No.
It's somebody left their trash can at the end of the driveway. They're blocking the driveway. Something, you know.
Stuck a shotgun in the neighbor's
Their
faces.
fence is an inch into somebody else's property.
That tree is half on my side. It belongs to me.
Right, but this state of oblivion is just like that hazed out, just uncaring, almost numb state. You know, which is, I think, ties in with the sun setting and it being dark out. And, like, is this the, like, kind of state that we're going into? Are we reaching the dark times? But it's also the state of that kind of numbness when it comes to depression. So I get where the repeat tied in. It does make you think. The song does make you think. It may sound just like a relaxing sort of EDM type music, but it makes you think. So.
And what I was going to say earlier, now that we're at the end of the video, I would encourage all of you to go watch both Bo Burnham's Internet Song.
Yeah.
Just for the satirical
value of it.
Yeah. And the truth behind it, if you really listen.
Which is why it's satire. Yeah.
And also check out Prince EA, and that's the letter EA.
Yeah.
Letters EA, like it's in the game. Prince, being a prince. And
not the symbol. The actual word. Yeah.
And again, it's called Can We Autocorrect Humanity? He also has another one called Why I Think This World Should End, which is not what you think it is
It's
by the
not.
title
Yeah.
at all. But it was actually the one I learned of who he was.
And honestly, go down the rabbit hole from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a person.
Very
And-
insightful, very thought-provoking, very well-written stuff. Yeah.
But yeah, check those out. Go check out 8 Graves.
Right.
Sub to them if you have not already.
Do it.
The fuck you
You know
waiting
you
for?
want to. Yeah.
And that's it. So, with that being said, if you guys liked the video, slash that like button, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Comment down below what did you think of 8 Graves with Everyday Oblivion. Also, comment down below if there's anything else you guys want to see reacted to. Check the description below for all the things.
Push our buttons. Come join us on our other social media platforms. Mostly Twitter if you want a quicker response.
With that being said, we love y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Cannot wait to see you depraved people later. Bye.